Brought to you by Penguin.
High Performance.
Lessons from the best on becoming your best.
Written and read by Jake Humphrey
and Professor Damian Hughes.
Introduction. Nothing is fixed. Hey guys, it's Jake here. Listen, failure changed my life. It was the mid-1990s. I just finished my A-levels and I had my life mapped out. Nobody thought I was on track for greatness, least of all myself. I'd been the epitome of average at my school in Norwich. I wasn't on any sports teams, I wasn't part of any societies or clubs, I couldn't act or sing. In fact, I was so average, I'd been fired from McDonald's a few months previously for a lack of communication skills. Life wasn't awful, but it wasn't amazing either, and so my horizons were pretty narrow. I had a place lined up at the University of Nottingham to study media, and after that, I was planning to get a job back in my hometown, like maybe for the local newspaper or something. But it was a vague plan. The details of how exactly I was going to get that job, they were pretty woolly. But somehow it felt like my destiny. I never dreamed of a career that would take me much further than Norwich, let alone right around the world. So after a summer of drinking in East Anglia and holidaying in Faliraki, good memories, it was finally A-level results day. So I clambered into my mum's pistachio green VW Polo and drove to collect my results with my younger brother in tow. Upon arriving at the 1950s complex that housed my rundown state school, I made my way to the table for students whose surnames started with H. As I was past the envelope, I prepared myself for what was on the page, like fully expecting grades good enough to get my university place. I needed B, C, C. I got E, N, U. I didn't even know what an N was. In fact, I was told by a teacher it stands for narrow, as in I had narrowly missed getting an E. But I'd failed anyway. A total disaster. Or so I thought. Today, I believe those awful grades were the single best thing that ever happened to me. Weeks later, having processed my failure and apologised to my parents a few thousand times, I was back at the same school studying for my retakes. During the first week back, my politics teacher, Mr. Brogan, read out a letter that had been sent to our politics class. It invited students to appear on a new cable channel, Rapture TV, to talk about political issues. Now, despite my massive exam humiliation, I was young, naive, and inexplicably certain I would make an excellent pundit on the show. I jumped at the opportunity to work in TV, and the next week I rocked up at Rapture's office wearing that late 90s staple of a sweater shop top and baggy jeans. I'm sure some of you remember them. I told them about the fast food sacking, the A-level catastrophe, and then asked them if I could basically give the channel a hand. I promised to do anything and everything, not just opining on politics, but also making tea, operating the phones, whatever they needed. They agreed. They actually needed all the help they could get, and I started working at Rapture for £5 cash each weekend. Yeah, that's £5 cash for the whole weekend, by the way. So 2 decades on, I guess it's kind of tempting to think this moment was part of my destiny, the first step in some inevitable path into my life in television. It wasn't. In the wake of my A-level cock-up, I had no real life plan, let alone any understanding of how TV worked. My cash-in-hand job wasn't the result of some grand strategy. It was luck. Look, it turned out to be the start of something great. Even though Rapture would go bust a few years later, I remember my days there really fondly. It was my first time in a TV studio, and I loved it, man. The bustle of the production crew, the excitement of going on air. But more importantly, the experience caused me to reconsider my approach to success. You see, my A-level disaster and my Rapture TV recovery was the first time I started to think about what it actually meant to achieve your potential. Until then, I thought success in life was simple. You either had talent or you didn't. If you did, life would be easy. If you didn't, life would be hard. And this principle...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?